So what exactly is this array from method all about? Well, very intuitively and very basically, all it does is it creates an array from an array-like object or an iterable object, but I'm not going to get into that now. Similarly, just like the toLowercase method, the array from method is a pure JavaScript function. In fact, it was introduced as part of ES6. ES6, by the way, was just a major overhaul and upgrade to ES5. And you're probably not scratching your head, but you may have already forgotten where does it come from. And we just saw it comes from the array object itself. But these are all things that you already know. So how does it work? Well, it's very easy to access this method. We start off by accessing JavaScript's array object. We then access the from method, and the from method takes an argument, and its argument is an array-like object. But before we talk more about what it does, let's hop over to the coding editor and let's start seeing how it works in action. Before we start getting into more detail on the array from method, I just want you to understand how it works. So remember what I said, it has to be an array-like object or an iterable object in order for us to use this array from method. So how does it work? Well, let's define an array-like object, and let's just be very, very simple here. Let's just say woof. Okay, so we know it's a string in this case. How does the array from look like? Well, firstly, I just want to say I've got Quokka open. Quokka just allows us to run JavaScript in real time within our text editor, so we don't have to keep jumping to the browser. It's just a lot quicker to kind of write up your code. It's very, very handy. Anyway, how does it work? Well, let's console log something and let's access JavaScript's array object. On there, we know there's a method called from, and we're wanting to pass in our array-like. And as you can see, it takes our array-like object, our woof, and it converts it into an array, which is really, really awesome. And you can see here, our array just consists of each letter in that string. That's all it's done. Let's hop back to the lecture. Cool, is that making sense? We looked at a very simple example, but just bear in mind that what does this array-like object mean? It just means that the object needs to have a length property and indexed elements. What do I mean by this? Well, let's hop over to the console again and let's just look at exactly what I'm talking about. Alright, so we've looked at this example here, but how and why does it work? Remember, the array from method will not work on everything. In fact, as the description kind of says, and as we've spoken about, it only works on array-like objects. And what that means is that the object needs to have a length property and therefore indexed elements. What do I mean? Well, let's go to a console. So let me right click on Google Chrome here, new incognito mode, and let me go to a console. Is that kind of making sense? Can you see that? And remember what we said here, let's just define dog or array-like object as woof. And we know that the array from method works on this. We just saw an example of that. But why? Well, to show you, let's console dir out this array-like object, and I want to look at its proto. And if we log this out, we know it is of type string. And if we open up the string method, what's awesome is that we've got this length property. That's what I mean by an array-like object. It has to have this length property in order for the array from method to work. So there you go. Hope it's making sense. Let's jump back into the lecture. Alright, I hope it's starting to kind of make more sense to you. And remember what I said earlier, that it does take more than one argument. Actually, it can take up to 3 arguments. It can take a map, and it can take what you want this to refer to. And bear in mind, these arguments are optional. We don't have to put them into this function at all. And a lot of people actually combine the this optional argument into that map function itself. So oftentimes you'll just see 2 arguments in the array from method. But anyway, I don't want to go into too much detail about this. I can quickly show you what the map is all about. So let's hop over to the text editor again and let's have a look at how that would work. Last but not least, let's see how the second argument to the array from function works. What is it all about? Well, let's delete everything we had on our screen previously and let's define an array. Let's just say that our array has a dog and you guessed it, a cat. Very, very simple. Now what I want to do is I want to define a handler function. I want to take everything inside this array and I want to log something out to the screen. So let's use JavaScript's function keyword. Let's call it handler. We can call it whatever we want. The handler is going to take an animal in each case. And all I want to do is I just want to return a statement. And I'm going to be using template literals here. And all I'm going to say is I'm going to say a animal went walking. So there you go. It's nothing too profound. It is a very, very simple function. Now, what do I want to do? Well, let's console log. Let's access the array, the from method. We know we want to access this array type. And as you can see here, if we just keep it with one argument, it literally does not make sense for us to do so because it is an array already. So there's no point of creating an array from an array. But it's the second argument, that map, that I want us to understand. And the second argument is what we've defined as this handler function. And there we go. What's returned to us on the screen is a dog went walking and a cat went walking. This is a new array now. It's created a brand new array and it's taken each item in the original array, passed it through our map function, and it's returned to us a new array. Does that kind of make sense? And that's what it's all about. Hope you're having fun. And I think by now you kind of have a good intuitive feel for how this works. So well done. I'm very, very impressed. There we go. I hope it's starting to make a bit more sense. And don't worry, as you come across these in your coding career, you'll start using it more and more and it will become a lot more intuitive. I just wanted you to know about the array from method because it is and it can be extremely handy. Which brings me on to the next topic, and that is, why do you need to know about the array from method? Why did I even discuss it in this course? Well, sometimes we want to work with methods that are only available from the array object. For example, the for each method is only available on the array object, and in order to access that method, we sometimes have to convert what we're working with in our code into an array. Does that kind of make sense? And over and above this, the array from method is extremely useful. It allows you to do lots of other things, like cloning arrays, removing duplicates, even filling an array, etc., etc. There are a lot of things you can do. And most definitely, you're going to be using this when working with DOM collections. And it brings me back to that first point. Sometimes we want to use methods that are only available on the array object. So when you're working with a DOM collection, for example, an HTML collection, sometimes we need to convert that into an array object in order to access methods we want. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that it comes in handy when you encounter and work with array-like objects. Hope that is providing a little bit more clarity on what this method does. But don't worry, we're only just getting into it, so don't panic if you don't fully understand it yet. It'll come through time. Hope you're enjoying this course so far, hope you're staying motivated, and I'll see you in the next lecture.